Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special meeting here, October 2nd, 2020, the Rotterdam Town Board. This evening, we started our agenda review at about 5:45 p.m., and we're entering our meeting here at about 6:02 p.m. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christo?
Present.
Mr. Gittarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Present.
5 present.
Okay, Samantha, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so this evening we have, so we're, obviously we're doing this via Zoom, and you should have received an email with the tentative budget. Tentative budget is on the website, and so at this point, I'm going to say a few things about it before we go into the public comment privilege of the floor. As you go through the budget line by line, you'll see a lot of areas that have been substantially reduced from what was asked for, and you'll see some other changes. When I say was asked for by department heads, you'll see some other changes throughout, and that where I've made modifications, or maybe department heads have made modifications that I've at this point with this draft, if you will, I'm okay with them. We're still working out a few positions, if you will, with different departments, and that'll take the better part of the next probably 2 weeks. Also within the budget, and I know I'm going to forget a couple of things, but I'll try to get through, I have some notes throughout, so I'm just going to flip a few pages here for my notes. So many of the general, I'll call it the GLs that you see within the budget, where in particular we have multiple positions within those lines. Those salary lines have not been fully adjusted yet. Our comptroller's office is still working on that because we have a number of people retiring this year. We also have an early retirement incentive that we've offered. So some of these figures are going to change. I am confident that we're going to see these numbers come down a little bit more. How much more? I don't want to say yet, but we're going to see some compression there. It's not going to be, frankly, like $500,000 or anything of that consequence, but there'll be some substantial changes there. Also, as you go through it, in some of the notes that you, if you don't have the notes pages, if you weren't given a draft, if you will, of the tentative with the notes pages, I'll see that you each get a copy of that if you haven't received it already. I had instructed for you to receive it, but I'm not sure if you have. So anyway, within those notes, you'll see that there are numbers of positions there that are accounted for within the salary line, but again, that salary number may not be accurate. So I want you again to know that we're still working on it. All of the insurance lines, so whether we're talking about liability insurance or anything related to that, and also the medical costs from the fringe benefit side, and also the retirement numbers that are there are estimates. And again, I'm hopeful that we're going to see lower numbers there as well. We are going back out to bid for our insurance, particularly on the liability side. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I'm hopeful for some compression there, but I don't know what that will be. We do have with what's been happening here for the last several months with COVID. There are a couple of other, if you want to call it part-time numbers in the budget, or consultant figures. Those are for people that we will need to continue to work with us to apply for any reimbursements that we're receiving through FEMA or any other source, even, through the state. So we need some additional expertise here, and we're working through that. Let me just just go through here real quick. It'll take me a few minutes. In the budget, I've put more money in the budget for additional software, if you will, and other improvements to our to automate as much as possible. Ms. Greenwood, who we brought on, she and I are working on finalizing a draft of a report to provide to the board. It'll go through basically some recommendations on what it is that we can do with technology, and over the next few years, hopefully we will be able to see some ability for cross functionality within departments, in particular, where there are, I'll say, disciplines or expertise in the way of simple things like making deposits or running utility billing, and working on some of these other, I'll call it mini silos that we have within departments. It's not really going to take work away from folks. It's going to just make it a lot easier for them to conduct their work, and make it a lot more beneficial to them to be able to balance and do everything more appropriately. And frankly, it'll make it easier for everyone, in particular, not just for department heads who have to sign off and ensure that those reports and everything else are correct, but also for our comptroller's office and comptroller staff. So, as those of you who have been, when I say those of you, we're all paying attention to it, but, maybe more intimately involved than maybe even you want to be. But when it comes to the tech side of things, we're just starting, in my opinion. We're kind of just, we are moving a little slower now because of COVID. By now, I kind of wanted to have payroll up and running in a different manner, and some other things, but we'll get there, and we'll get there with our town staff and with some additional resources when it comes to, again, when it comes to technology. So the other matters that I kind of want to go through here with the budget. So when you see, so as an example, when you see the, look at the A fund medical, A fund or retiree medical, we've put in 5% increases on those numbers. I'm hopeful that they'll be less than that. Again, we're not talking about huge differences as far as dollars go, but there's still a difference there, and obviously that number will be just go down into reduction in the tax rate, if you will. That's where that anything that we do forward will be meaningful to that. One of the things that I've tried to do with this budget is to lessen our dependency on our fund balance. So when you're comparing budgets from one year to the next, you'll see that that there's a reduction in fund balance appropriation from last year to this year. Also, what you'll see in the budget is the need for us to, and when I say you see in the budget, there's a need for us to continue to work together across department lines, and to get some more cross-functional, on the labor side in particular, work together to utilize our own resources. And instead of hiring out, maybe some additional part-time folks or even full-time folks, I think we need to take a hard look here this year, particularly since we're in it with COVID. And mostly what we've got from the COVID reality that we're in is that, as an example, our revenues in our court are lower. Our revenues in some other areas are lower. But then again, on the mortgage tax side, it seems like it's a little higher than it was last year. we can't really count on that number. What's going to happen for us in this year's budget for 2020 is that hopefully and I've spoken to several people in the banking business, particularly in the mortgage side of the business, and there is a lot of activity in town. Homes are selling very rapidly, and more rapidly than the past, according to realtors that I've spoken to and mortgage folks. And also refinances are up. So while we see a reduction for this year's budget in the real dollars that are coming in as far as this year's revenue for court, there is going to be an uptick somewhere else that'll help us to hopefully, lessen the blow from the perspective of having to dip more into our reserves for meeting expenses through our budget. I don't think we're going to have to go there at all this year. As department heads have been very frugal. Overall, I think that everyone's done a great job at keeping a hold on their expenses through their budgets. Also, a few things that you'll see in the budgets, particularly in water and sewer, that may look a little different, even again than what maybe was asked for versus what's budgeted. In a couple of areas, we made a couple of reductions because of, again, what's going on with COVID. We were projecting out for this year for some other, the potential property purchase for putting up a new water tank, doing some other things. I think those type of expenses can wait until 2022, and it'll give us some time to also work on a couple of other projects, if you will, and make some inroads to lessen our expenses in some other areas, which I'm not at liberty to talk about right now, because frankly, I haven't spoken to those department heads about how to maybe we do some things a little differently. The potential of buying some equipment through a bond and maybe reducing our cost, our outlay, and some of the things that we have to, if you will, send out for processing, and that's what I'll say to that, and find a way for us to do things in-house that will save us money long term. There may be an additional spend or additional cost in 2021, later in 2021, which will really affect the 2022 budget. But moving forward, we'll be able to see some savings and some long-term opportunity for the town and for our workforce, which is what we have to do. Also in the budget, what I'm trying to do is allocate some additional resources here and there, and they're small amounts, just for additional training and other needs that some departments have. Again, it's generally technology based, but that's there. The other thing with this preliminary / tentative budget, what you're going to see is when you go to look at the tax rate pages, if you will. What I'm going to point out is that the rates for both homestead and non-homestead are up, but in comparing them to past years, as I've done before with the board, basically our rates for next year as proposed, and again, I think we're going to see these rates come down because I believe that these estimates that we have in those insurance lines and some of these other lines are I believe a little higher. So we're going to see some reductions. So I don't want you to get too excited about it. Because this is basically our, if you want to call it, our working budget for this month. And there's just timing too. It just seems to be that every year we kind of go through this exercise, and October seems to be the month where everyone basically gives us their numbers for insurance, for medical costs and retirement. So it would be great if we got those numbers back in August so that we know what we were doing next year, but it seems to come in October, and that's okay. But I just want to reflect and point out that the rates that you'd see this year, because you don't have this data in this record that you have in front of you, are the homestead rate is basically lower in 2021 than it was in 2018, but it's up from last year because you all put more fund balance in there. And again, we've got to preserve our cash. I'm not going to be shy to say that because of where we are right now. I think we have to be careful. But again, if we get some cost reductions here from these estimates that are coming in, I think we'll be in better shape. The non-homestead rate is different by, there's a difference of 3 cents per thousand, or about 3 cents per thousand. And that I think will from 2018. And again, especially there, I think you'll see that come down below that 2018 number. So because we have this two-tier system, as we've talked about ad nauseum here, these rates do this. They just seem to do this over time, up and down a little bit. I think the story here, though, for us is that because we've been careful with where we're spending our resources, that we have people in departments, department heads who have been most of them more frugal in what they've done and how they operate their departments, and particularly in overtime and some other costs that they've held back on. And while we see with our COVID experience here, some costs are up and things that we didn't anticipate this year, and other costs are lower. That's just a fact, but it's going to even out. Like I said, with the revenue shortages and so on, it'll even out. But I want to just preface that again, this is still a work in progress. That as we go through here, you'll see a lot more in the way of changes. So if you have, do you all have your preliminary budget open by chance? Tentative budget, preliminary budget. I just want to point out on a couple of pages here so that you'll see a few things. So, and really it's just the last in the later in the document. So page I think it's page 76 on the document itself. It's page 76, but it's page 78 of the PDF or of the file. So let me know when you're there.
What line would it be?
Well, just go right to the bottom where it says all funds. Ms. Miller Herrera.
I'm using the worksheet. I'm not using the PDF.
Okay. Okay, so it would be the personal services, all funds, before you get to the revenue pages.
Got it.
Okay. Is everyone there? I'm not.
I'm there.
Everybody there? Okay. So you see the headers, and it would be great to have a few more years out, and we'll get some of these if you don't have your prior budgets, if you need some additional copies as you work through looking and try to do some comparisons, I can get those for you. Dawn can print you some fresh copies. But under personnel services there for 2020's final budget, modified budget for these, I'll say for this exercise, as we look at this, we should be comparing more the apple to the apple. So we'll look at the final budget column, which is 3 over 2020 final budget. You've got about 9.8 million, and you go across to the tentative, you've got 9.7. So I do believe that number is going to come down a little bit more, but we do have buyouts, we do have retirements, so it's going to still be there. But again, pushing out longer term, we're hopefully trying to keep that number as stable as possible. And as you see over the last few years, it has again gone up and down a little bit over the last few years. Obviously, that's also a function of people who have been working for the town for several years now, retiring and younger, and for the most part younger, but less or newer, if you will, employees coming in who are at a lower wage scale, right? So that's part of it as well. But this is what you're seeing there on the personal services side. Equipment and other capital outlay. You can see that in our final budget, we had about $1 million, so about $1.1 million. What I'm showing here is $1,250,000. We'll call it that. There was an ask for a lot more equipment here than we can budget for in the way of tax. And this is one of the things that I'll say it kindly, is that when there's equipment that's extremely expensive, and more importantly, equipment that departments know that they need, rather than put it in the budget as let's just spend the money this year and charge the taxpayers for it this year, and obviously blow the tax cap and everything else. The right approach is to, come up with a capital plan, come up with a plan within your budget that shows where the debt service is going to come from, and our town comptroller, Ms. Every, could give a couple of proposals on how to finance that, whether it's through a bond anticipation note or through an actual loan, if you will, to purchase the equipment. Also, there are needs for some other equipment that we can do through leasing. There's a lot of stuff on state contract. Frankly, a lot of responsibility gets pushed to staff that don't have direct responsibility for those departments. And so I'm going to have those conversations with those department heads personally, and/or rely on each of you to do so through your committees to maybe help in that regard. Under contractual expenses, there you'll see basically everything else that we have in the way of cost that doesn't have to do with in the big scheme of things directly anyway. It's more indirect with our personnel, and there we are just up a little bit, but again, I think that we're going to see some compression there, so that should be a little lower than what you see, about 6.3 million from 5.9 million. So you should see some reduction there. On the fringe benefits side, same thing. Final budget was 2020 was 7,069,000. This year we're looking at 7,300,000. And again, I think that we'll see some reduction there. On our debt service side, relatively, in the big scheme of things, relatively flat. And really for other items, is what we call them, relatively flat. A small reduction in each category. But so when you go to the revenue side of the budget, which would be the next page, and then beyond, obviously the biggest change, for us will be in other revenue sources, which we have typically been able to rely upon. But again, we're keeping them relatively flat, not increasing them. So when it comes to the court and some of these other costs here, we're not looking to do anything in the way of an increase anywhere here. So you'll see that when you look at this. If you believe that there may be something in one of these revenue lines that may not appear if you have some other ideas, let me know. But we're going to basically hold the line on where we were this year into next year for the other revenue sources outside of our property taxes. Our pilots are relatively flat there, as you can see, and sales tax, same thing there. The county is not going to reduce, and I hope all of you know that they've made a commitment not to reduce the sales tax revenues to the towns this year, although they're taking a big hit. So that's good for us, thankfully. But you saw probably the newspaper articles about the sales tax, the county tax. There's a slight increase potentially this year, but there's always more work to do. So that's kind of it. I want you to take the time to look through it. I want you to take the time to meet with department heads, and I've already spoken to a few of them. So if you do get some conversations or demands, let's work through it and see what we can do to be assist them, but obviously without going to put us in a position where, frankly, we've got to go back out there and keep depending on our fund balance and try to put more cash into this budget. I think that's a mistake because we don't know what's going to happen next year really yet. And if our revenues are short next year, wherever they may be short, we're going to run into a different problem. This year we've been able to, like I said, we've been able to hold our own thus far, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the department heads for what they've been able to achieve. I'm thankful to all of you for helping us through this as well. So that's kind of it. I don't know if anyone has any general questions or I'll answer specific questions, but, we have to be careful in talking about personnel and departments and things like that. So let's be kind and careful if we can as we speak. Anyone have anything that they want to talk about before we go into the public comment, privilege of the floor, or the resolutions? Okay, so do we have anyone? So I see that there are some folks who've called in. Is there anyone who would like to speak this evening? If you would like to speak this evening, if you would unmute your phone or the device that you're using, and just state your name and address for the record. We'll give you approximately 4 minutes to speak. And I know you probably can't see me, but I'll chime in if you go beyond 4 minutes a little bit to let you know that and give you some time to wrap up. Is there anyone that would like to be heard in the public comment privilege of the floor this evening?
I've asked all three callers to unmute themselves to let you know if they want to speak.
Okay. All right, I don't see anyone, no one's unmuting, so I'm going to, I think we just move into our resolutions. So our resolutions are here before us, and I don't know if anyone has, so we don't have anyone, okay. All right, let's move into the resolutions then. Ms. Marco, resolution, we believe it's going to be 270, but we're going to double check the number, but we'll say resolution, the first resolution here this evening.
Okay, 270.20, a resolution to appoint Carol Connolly to the position of Senior Payroll Audit Clerk provisionally at an annual salary of $58,062.38, and appoint Joe Marcello with 2 L's to the position of Senior MEO Heavy Crew Leader provisionally at an hourly rate of $29.0145 an hour. Appoint Ed Dixon to the position of Senior Road Maintenance Supervisor provisionally at an hourly rate of $34.99, $34.9905 an hour. This resolution shall be retroactive to September 1st of 2020. This resolution is not subject to the Taylor Law and shall sunset for Connolly and Marcello at 2 L's on December 31st, 2020, and Dixon on March 30th, 2021. The resolution to authorize the supervisor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Civil Service Employees Association, Inc., Local 1000, AFSCME, AFL-CIO, Local Rotterdam Unit, to pay out accrued vacation leave for Carol Connolly, Joe Marcello at 2 L's, and Edward Dixon in excess of the amount currently allowed in the collective bargaining agreement. This resolution is not subject to the Taylor Law and shall sunset for Connolly and Marcello at 2 L's on December 31st, 2020, and Dixon on March 30th of 2021.
Okay. So I apologize for the way that this is set up. So those are both there's 2 different resolutions, but we're going to go with the first one.
Oh,
So yeah, don't worry about it. It's all the
what
same.
I read?
All the same information. Yeah,
Okay. So do you want me to read the other one I have?
Let's go with the first one. Let's go with 270. We have
Okay,
resolution 270 for the appointment, and
Right.
that was just presented here by Ms. Marco of Ms. Connolly, Mr. Marcello, and Mr. Dixon.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Is there anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera,
I'd like to explain my vote. This came up before our last meeting, and we weren't really able to get all the information and work with the union to find out how to resolve what was an issue related to continuity in one of the offices. In that time, I've asked some questions, but I would note that no information was provided to the board about whether these positions were posted, whether the qualifications are all met for these positions, So I do have some concerns that we're rushing through this process in order to make one role a little easier, and that we're being irresponsible in going through this process without having the applications in front of us, the qualifications in front of us, the job descriptions in front of us. And it's nothing personal to any of these three members of our town staff. They all do good work, but we really need to make sure that we're above board in all things we do. And this is one of those things that I think through without adequately looking at everything and making sure we're doing things the way they're supposed to be done. So I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Signor,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasone,
So explain my vote as well. I share and many concerns that Ms. Miller Herrera has brought up here this evening. At the same time, I do know that we have our needs here to, press ahead from the perspective of our work that needs to be accomplished here for the town. And I also want to thank Ms. Conley for continuing to help us in the comptroller's office as we train new staff. And so I'm going to vote yes.
4 yes and 1 no.
Okay, so the first resolution passes. Second resolution, which Ms. Marco continued to read, had to do with authorizing. So I'll just read it through if that's okay.
Oh, so I'm just confused, Steve. So the resolution is different than the one I read? I'm just confused.
There's okay. No worries. It's all good. There's two
Okay.
of them.
Because it didn't have numbers on it. So
Right.
I think you read two resolutions is what Steve's point is.
Yeah, and so I'll just go through the second one here. And so the second resolution is a resolution to authorize Supervisor to enter into an MOA with Civil Service Employees Association, Inc., Local 1000 AFSCME, AFL-CIO, Local Rotterdam Unit to pay out accrued vacation leave for Carol Conley, Joseph Marcello, and Ed Dixon in excess of the amount currently allowed in the collective bargaining agreement for what they have earned. This resolution is not subject to the tail law and shall sunset for Conley and Marcello on December 31st of this year, and Mr. Dixon on March 30th of 2021. So may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motions.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli.
Yes.
Okay, anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
So again, this would be like 271. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera.
I'd like to explain my vote again. When the information related to this resolution was forwarded to the board, I asked questions about what the costs associated with these buyouts were, and I didn't get that information back. I probably should have followed up and asked a few other people for that information, but it came Wednesday late in the day, and I thought I would have gotten something yesterday. My concern is that, again, we don't know what the costs are associated with this buyout. And frankly, I'm concerned that the 3 employees named are not the only employees who should or would be eligible for this arrangement or this benefit. I can think of at least one person off the top of my head who's not included that I think probably should be. So I think once again, we're rushing into something to put a Band-Aid on a situation that's going to end up costing us more and create larger issues in the long run. So my vote is no.
Mr. Signor,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
All right, so resolution 271 passes. So let's, the other thing that I did not bring up, I forgot to bring up, I made a note for myself here, but so in our next couple of meetings that we have, meeting of October 14th, and then the meeting of the 28th, if there's any way that we can meet in person here at Town Hall, I think that would be most beneficial. And if for some reason we can't, we can't. And what I mean by that is if a few of us can be here in person, that might work out best. if we can't, or you would rather, meet from home in this manner, we'll still set it up like this and do it that way as well, just to make sure that everyone is accommodated. And the reason for that is really because what I'd like to do is, if they're hopefully by the 14th, we'll have enough data in that I can send out an updated tentative, if you will, or updated draft, and have the numbers, if you will, more in line with what I think, or more my expectations too. But again, we'll see where we are. So it would give us some opportunity to just speak through some other matters, and I should have some more data and information by then from some of the things that I spoke about earlier. Some of the changes that I think we need to make long term, and a lot of people outside town hall tonight walking around. And then on the meeting on the 28th, if possible, we host our if we can have the public hearing and actually get through the budget. And we have to adopt the budget no later than November 20th. So we do have a board meeting in there before that. We can have at least one. We'll have at least one public hearing, maybe two. But again, what I would do is, on the meeting of the 14th, the meeting of the 28th, we can we can certainly talk through the budget and answer any questions from the public as well. So I want us to be able to do that, and I want to afford you all the opportunity too, if you have questions that you want answered prior to the meetings. Please get them to me. Just call me. We can set up a quick meeting one-on-one if you want to, whatever works best for you as a board member. And that's all I have with that. Anyone else have anything under committee reports or miscellaneous this evening?
I do have something, Steve. Just bear with me here. I haven't.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. I met with our highway superintendent today, and he had handed me, and I was given an email from sent to him by a Rita Wojnar or Wonar, Wojnar, basically giving some accolades to our highway department for helping out some people in need. And I told him that I thought it was a very nice gesture on behalf of Ms. Wonar, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically, she was expressing how grateful she was for the assistance that our town employees, and specifically the highway department, had rendered to us, some people that were in need in our highway, in our town. So I just wanted to read that out there and say thank you very much to Larry for having a staff that's able to help and to be recognized by one of our town residents.
Good.
And thank you, Ms. Monar. I'm sorry, Wonar, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you, Ms. Wonar, for bringing that to our attention. It was very kind of you to acknowledge our highway department and their good work.
Anyone else? So I do have one more thing. Just read through here if I could. This letter comes from DOT, from New York State DOT, and from the regional director, Pat Barnes, and Corey Behringer, who's the project manager for this project. So this has to do with the New York State Route 146 Carmen Road at I-890 exit 9B ramp intersection, safety enhancements. So it says here that the department is pleased to inform you that New York State DOT Region 1 is progressing with the design of a project which will involve the reconstruction of New York State Route 146 Carmen Road intersection with I-890 exit 9B ramp into a one-lane roundabout. In addition to the construction of the roundabout, Carmen Road will be paved from the northern bridge abutment of the thruway overpass located in the town of Guilderland to the roundabout located at Curry Road. It is anticipated that the project construction will begin in the spring and be completed in the fall of 2021. Informational brochure regarding the project will be distributed in the future. And so if anyone has any questions, they can contact the DOT. at Wolf Road in Albany. But, they've talked about this project for several years now. It looks like they're going to proceed. And so that'll be another project coming in to that particular area of our town. That's seen a lot of attention, a lot of growth. So anyone have anything else this evening that they would like to mention?
Supervisor, when do you think we might be getting to live meetings? I know you said the 14th, pretty nice. If we could meet there.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And again, just looking at the restrictions and requirements and whatnot, how should I say, I know this may not, it's not going to come across right, but I don't know how else to say it, but if we have substantial public hearings on the agenda, and then you have to somehow accommodate a number of people in inclement weather, you see what I mean? I'm concerned about that. I think we kind of play it by ear. I would like us to, if just even a few of us can come here, we can meet, socially distance in the meeting room, and we can also, put chairs up socially distanced for anyone who may come in person. But that's my goal is to at least some of us be here on the meeting of the 14th and the 28th in the meeting room itself.
Okay.
But I have to make
clear.
Do we
So
have
what-
the information? Do we have the information about the number of people who are allowed in the town board meeting room and how we're going to accommodate if we have overflow for those meetings?
And that's exactly where I was going. So we
I'm
need,
not sure we have enough space even for just us and a couple extra people, so.
we have to know all of that. That's what I'm getting at. So we not only have to have that, but we have to figure out staff downstairs to check people in, if you will. So there's a lot more to it. So we'll have that at some point next week, and so that we kind of have a lay of the land of what we can do here physically, and then we'll have to make some kind of accommodation again through this kind of format for those folks who just can't, because of those restrictions, physically be here in the building. So that's it.
I have one more.
For the record, I'll likely be appearing by Zoom for the next meeting.
I'm sorry, Sam, you likely,
I said, for the record, I'll likely be appearing through the Zoom for the next meeting.
with those white head earphones on?
Yep.
Okay.
What, you don't like my gray
No.
Beats?
No, they're, are they Bluetooth?
They are, and they're
They're
wireless.
fashionable.
They just have the connecting. They're the ones I used to wear to the gym before I was pregnant with twins and couldn't walk on a treadmill anymore.
Ah.
Miss-
Joe, I know you have a question, but I just wanted to say, Steve, after Joe asks a question, I'd like to follow up on something if I could.
Okay, you go first.
No, Joe. No, please.
Well, I wanted to know if I could make a motion for adjournment.
All right, Joe.
You just want to beat Evan to it?
Yes.
All right. I'll be real quick. Mr. Supervisor or Kate or anyone, do we know how we're standing in terms of how close we are to resolving the issue with the courts, in terms of not so much finding a new place right now, but the concept that people are still having to wait once they get inside the court and aren't able to sit down on the benches?
Oh, I did have a question about that. Do we have the ability to video conference into the courts the way the other upper level courts are doing?
Yes. Yes, there's a number of things
And is that being presented to people with their information about when to appear in court so that they're not waiting outside if they don't have to?
To my knowledge, yes, but we also are looking at a couple of other options, and I don't even want to call it a kiosk, but we're exploring some options here, and hopefully we'll have some resolution or so.
But I guess I still want to get to the fact is, how much closer are we to trying to resolve the issue of people actually having to still stand in the courtroom instead of sitting down on the benches?
I
And
think the issue is that they can't even go into the courtroom.
as
They have to stand outside, right?
No. The issue is once they get into the courtroom, where the benches are, they are not allowed to sit down once they're in the courtroom. They
So,
have to still remain standing.
Mr. Signor, you and I spoke briefly this morning on matters related to that. And I think that we just keep working through this over the next week in particular, and hopefully we can have a more robust resolution here that will take care of everyone. One of the concerns, again, for us is obviously is to ensure the safety of everyone, in particular the public and our town employees, obviously, together when they are in any way having to meet, whether it has to do with our building here or at the court or anywhere. So we're limited, we're limited in what we can do and how many people can meet and so on. So, and that's not our doing, it's how it is right now. And it is difficult for everyone. So we also have to be realistic in that we don't have a lot of additional, I'll say resources. When I say resources, I'm talking about capital to be able to outfit a new courtroom, to do a lot of things that would be, I guess I want to say, a broader long-term solution. And in the discussions I've had with our justices, who are very aware and very, they're looking at different options. They're looking for a quick resolution to what you're speaking about, and again, a quick resolution, but something that we can utilize if we needed to long term. That's the challenge, and not expend resources that we probably would need for other things. Frankly, if this were a short term episode or issue. So it's difficult to make that call, and we're working on it. I think that I personally believe that a longer term solution is the best solution. But if we don't have the resources within our budget, we don't have the resources in cash, we don't know yet whether or not the federal or state government is going to have additional resources to help municipalities like us in our situation. I think, and what our justices are doing, and you and I spoke about this morning, is to speak with our county and speak within the court system within the county and see if they also may require some additional space for other matters, or the county offices may need some other space, and maybe we can do something together in a central location within the town that would benefit everyone, and frankly not put the entire burden on our taxpayers here in town. Because obviously, I don't like to say that the court is a source of revenue. It just happens to be a source of revenue, and it offsets other costs, but mostly in the court. It offsets costs in the court and for enforcement. So it's tough. It's just very difficult, and I know that you're working on it. And again, I spoke to the justices just in the last few days, and a week and a half ago we were together talking about this matter, the three of us. So hopefully we'll get there. But just what I would say to you is keep doing what you're doing and try to find some ways for resolution. I'll do the same thing. The justices will do the same, and hopefully we can come to an agreement that's again a longer term solution rather than just a band-aid on a shoestring. Frankly, we can't afford to do it like that.
Right.
Can't afford to do it like that.
Weren't we just provided with a memo recommendations for what to do as the weather changes for the courts?
So Ms. Greenwood is working on that as well. So we're working on that together.
So how about that
Hello,
motion
Mr.
to adjourn?
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Tomazone. It's Barbara Benarski. How are you, sir, from 6 Sartoli Avenue?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hello, everyone. And I'm so sorry for intervening. And I know that you're very anxious to end the meeting. It took me a few minutes and I got on late because it took me a while to find your code to get involved in your meeting. I just want to say one thing really quick and I will let you go. It's Friday and I'm sure you're anxious to start your weekend. I just want to say one thing, Mr. Tomazone. I spoke to, anyway, my 6 Artoli Avenue. I'm calling to inquire about our situation here with our water drainage problem and our road problem that's happening here on Sartoli Avenue. I spoke with Assemblyman Santa Barbara's office today, and they said to me that they have sent over some paperwork to the town hall to be filled out. So I just wanted to, I don't know, they said they were going to call over to you guys to see about whether you received it or it was filled out and stuff like that. I just wanted to put that out there to make you aware of that. I guess there's some paperwork has to be filled out to help us out to get some funding over here. So I just wanted to see if there was any updates on anything that was going on. I know this is a sidebar to what your meeting was about, but I just wanted to see if there was any updates or anything that was going on with what's happening here on our road. And just to let you know that I had spoke to their office today and they did send some stuff over, I guess that needed to be filled out by you guys and sent back. So I just wanted to ask that question, if that's okay.
Sure, sure. That paperwork actually came in about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I did fill it out. And then
Okay.
today, what's interesting today is that I did receive, must have been after you spoke to them, I did receive an email.
Okay.
That asked me where it was, and I sent it in here to our town staff. I filled it out. Believe it or not, I filled it out by hand. Again, 2 weeks ago. So I know
Okay.
that it's done. So I'll double check with our town staff here and just find out that it was
Okay.
sent. I believe what I
Yeah.
asked was just to bring it downstairs to Mr. Comenza, who is our grant writer, for him before it was sent forward. But you're right on that, and everything is progressing. We just have to update some numbers here, and hopefully we can move forward. And I want to thank you for your patience and your diligence.
Okay.
It's this is a project that hasn't fallen off anyone's radar. It just continues to move forward.
Okay. I just want to see.
And
And do we need to do anything? Like, where are we? Like, are we good to go? Like, is there anything that we need to do? I just want to know where we are with the water district extension. Like, do we need to do anything with that? Like us as the residents, or are we to that progression yet? Or, if that's, where are we with that?
So at this point, there's nothing that you need to do.
Okay.
I think we're in good shape right now.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have some other, I'll say, movement, in the short period of time here for that project. Okay.
I just, I don't mean to be that person and to be that pushy and stuff. I just don't want to get into, 2021 and be like, okay, we didn't dot our I's and cross our T's, and now we got to go into 2022. It's getting very cumbersome over here. The street is getting worse, pretty soon that we're going to be like, the land is up, below the water level. So, you know what I mean? I appreciate all your efforts and everything that you're doing and stuff. So
I can tell you, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I can tell you that over the next meeting to 2 meetings, we are going to take some actions.
Okay. That sounds great.
And you'll know more probably next week and into the week.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for doing your due diligence about the
You were
paperwork.
muted. We didn't know who you were. And so that's what. So and then you unmuted yourself, and I said, okay, somebody's going to speak here. I didn't know it was you.
I'm very sorry. Like I said, it's like all due to as you guys are trying to work this out. Like, I'm not too technically inclined. I'm embarrassed to say that, but like trying to find out your codes and everything to get online and stuff like that is a little difficult for me. So thank you for your patience and your courtesy.
You're welcome. And I'll just say this much, for those folks that are out there that have to use different platforms, whether it's Teams, Zoom, WebEx.
Yeah.
Every day you have to meet with someone, and they have their own approved platform that they want to use, that their company wants to use. And so, and then if your company, or, if we don't use it, how do you figure out how to get it? Believe me, it's all a challenge right now. We're gonna just keep adapting, and hopefully it'll all work out. But we're working, we're working diligently with obviously with Mr. Mastriani and
Okay, great.
with
Well,
some-
and and like I said, it's the kindness and appreciation and the courtesy that people have. So I thank you for that, for not being like, what's wrong with this lady? She's crazy. Like, it took her forever to get on. So at least everyone has that kindness and courtesy to be considerate, to say, you let me speak. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, everyone have a wonderful weekend, and thank you. And I look to hear some updates soon. And they also said at the Assemblyman's office that they were going to let me know something next week. So let's cross our fingers that they give us some good news also. So
Yes.
hopefully we're in the right direction.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very
Take care.
much. Joe, did you want to make a motion or something like that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I have a
Thanks,
motion
Evan.
by Mr. Ghettarelli to adjourn, and a second by Mr. Christou.
Looks
All
like
in
Samantha bailed.
favor, saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We're adjourned.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
All right, everyone,
Johnson, for your
take care.
budget.
Thank you.